We are getting ready for the day, but instead of talking about products, I'm going to be taking you through the brushes that I like to use. For concealer, I like my brushes to be kind of rounded and dense and fluffy. This is a BK Beauty N14. This is my favorite concealer brush right now. It fits perfectly in this little corner. Honorable mention is the A506, also from BK Beauty. You're going to see a lot of BK Beauty brushes. They're my favorite brush brand. Foundation brush I use depends on the foundation that I'm using. I'm using something that's really liquidy. I'll use a brush like this to kind of paint it on. This is a Makeup Forever 104 brush. If I want to sheer out the coverage of my foundation, I'll go in with a stippling brush. This is a Sephora 64 brush. I love this brush. Then my most used brushes are like buffing brushes like this. This is the Sephora 1 foundation brush. This is a great line of brushes to get if you're just starting out. And then this is a really old brush. This is an airbrush blurring foundation brush from IT Cosmetics. I like them to be big, fluffy, and dense. That way I can blend out my foundation as quickly as possible. I got a lot of surface area to work through and I don't want to be here forever. A denser brush is also going to give you more coverage. So depending on what kind of look you're going for, you can switch out your brushes that way. There's only one brush that I use for cream bronzer and it's also from Sephora. This is their 56 brush. Technically a foundation brush, but a foundation brush for who? Not me. For blush, I love kind of like a soft and fluffy powder brush. This really helps mesh the blush with the rest of the product instead of like using a dense brush where it's gonna like disturb the layers underneath. I'm always using a light hand when blending and I'm holding it at the end. This way I have a bit more control about where I'm going. Now, I don't normally use pressed powders under my eye, but when I do, I'm using a smaller brush like this. I also love these brushes from BK Beauty. This is the 110 and the 108. Both of these can be used with cream as well, so they make great concealer brushes too. Then I always use a puff for loose powder. The rest of my face, I use this really old Real Techniques powder brush. For bronzer, I like something that's really dome shaped, and this is a Morphe V115. I think they discontinued this line of brushes, but then they like came out with them again, but like under a different name, so you can probably still find this. Then for nose contour, I just use this really old eyeshadow brush. This is a Sigma E45. For powder blush, I actually use the same brush I used for cream, just like a different brush. So it's the same Sephora brush. This is the Sephora 79. For like small details with highlighter, I use a Morphe brush. I've had this brush for so long, it literally doesn't even say what it is, but it's just like a small little eyeshadow brush. Perfect for down the bridge of the nose, on the inner corner, brow bone. And then for highlighter, I either use my blush brush or a Sephora 98 brush. And that is really it. These are all of the brushes that we used for the base today. But yeah, I hope this helped. Brushes can and will make a difference in your makeup routine, especially when it comes to shape and how they're formed, like the density of them. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I love you. Bye.